That's it.
Sitting in the corner, John?
I'm in bed.
Oh, okay.
Say, should make you sit up front then.
Yeah.
Ducking pretty close, Lewis.
Well, while they're sitting down, Lou, it's time for the flag.
Yeah, I'd like to call the meeting to order. The Board of Leavenworth County Commissioners. I'd like to invite everyone to stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the record, all three commissioners are present today. I'd like to open up the public comment portion of the meeting. Anyone from the public wishing to speak, please come forward, state your name and address.
Craig Cause, 5037 South 4th Street, Leavenworth, Kansas. I'm going to give you a little different citizen's comment this morning that you guys probably aren't used to, but I'm going to compliment you.
Well, thank you.
And first I want to
Make sure this is recorded.
I want to thank all of you for what you guys do. And it takes a lot to do what you guys do day after day, the abuse you take. I may not agree with everything that all of you do, but I do respect what you're doing and the job that you do and the time that you put forth. So a lot of times you don't get the thank you and the appreciation, but it is appreciated, so thank you. Next, the smoke has kind of died down a little bit from the industrial parks, and I just wanted to thank you for your support of both industrial parks. A lot of times it's hard for people to look farther than 2 years down the road. These industrial parks are something that is going to be more in the 10-year down the road, because it'll take at least that long probably to fill them up. But you guys have had the vision to put something in place that's going to benefit us down the road. So I think you should really be complimented on that, on looking down the road and not just looking at what's going to happen in the next year or two or whatever your term may be. Next thing, your camera. Great idea. I guess I have no life that I enjoy going home at night and watching it. But it really lets the citizens of Leavenworth County know what's going on with the county, and they can do it on their own schedule. If I don't want to hear something, I can fast forward it through it on YouTube. It's really appreciated that you're sharing this information with the citizens, and you don't have to physically sit here to listen to what's going on. So thank you for that also. Over the last 2 or 3 months, I've had personal contact with the Register of Deeds, with the county clerk, with the GIS department, and with the engineering department. I want you to know that all of my requests, when I went to them, they were responded to within 60 to 90 minutes. When I asked for something, I got it back. And you've got some really good people in the county. You've got some good people in the county government. I know there's been some tension among the county government over the last year or so, but you know, I think you guys will pull everyone together, and you've got some good people, so that's encouraging. 147th Street. Obviously, you got very good bids on 147th Street. Speaking as a contractor that bid on that project, I was a little bit disappointed in your engineer and didn't share the same opinion that David Van Paris did when he thought they did a great job. Just to give you a general idea of how a contractor looks at a job sometimes, normally the project will come out, it's about 30 days before it bids. So the contractor will see it, they'll put it on their schedule that, okay, I know this job bids here and I'm going to schedule to do the work on it. And that schedule normally is about a week before it bids is when they're going to start really getting serious and looking at it. And they'll spend the next 5, 4, 3, 2 days working on it. Affinis, when they put the project out, they limited the questions that you had to ask the questions, if you had any, 10 days before the project bid. So basically, it didn't give contractors a chance to ask the questions once they had gotten into it. This caused somewhat of a problem because their specs that they used, the specifications, were a general specification that they use for the city of Shawnee, the city of Lenexa, whatever projects they're doing. And that's common to do that, but then normally there will be a page that will make changes to make it specific for the project that you're looking at. In their specs, there was a lot of questions concerning testing. Who was responsible for doing the testing? Was it the contractor, or was it the county or the consultant that was going to do the testing? One of the bigger items was the testing on the asphalt. And
The testing on what?
the asphalt paving, the asphalt mix, and the laying of the asphalt. KDOT has 2 different ways that they do their asphalt paving. One is what they call a commercial mix, which has some testing, but it's very minimal. The other is a full-blown asphalt paving, and they break up the asphalt into lots. You have the contractor does the testing, then the state will do maybe 1 out of every 5 tests to verify the contractor's tests. You have to have a lab set up, you have to have lab people there every time you're running. It's a lot more involved. The way the specs read was that you had to do, well, they actually referenced both of those specs, the commercial grade and the full-blown paving. So contractor isn't really sure which one to do. The difference in price was probably about $200,000 to $300,000. So if you had to do the full-blown testing and have to have a laboratory on site and all the testing people, it added quite a bit of cost. The questions were shut off at Friday at 5:30, 10 days before it bid on the week from Wednesday following. I sent an email to the lead engineer Saturday morning asking about this. I waited all week. I didn't get a response or anything from her, no response at all. Not that, well, the question's, the period's over, I can't answer it. It was just ignored. So the Monday before it bid, I called David Luge and I said, David, this is kind of a big deal. There's a lot of questions on some of the other, but this one's a big deal where it's going to add that kind of money to the project. And so David says, well, let me work on it. Within 90 minutes of when I talked to him, there was an addendum that came out on the project and it was addressed. So David did get in, he did what he needed to do and got it cleared up. But I guess my point is, if the specs were better, would have you got a better price? No. But what it's going to lead to is problems probably down the road of, well, you got the testing, no, you got the testing, and then some sort of a disagreement. Because when a contractor's bidding on a competitive basis, they're going to try to get as cheap as they can. And it's going to be, well, figure it this way and then we'll fight with them later. So just something for the projects that are going down the road that might want to be considered, that commonly you see questions cut off about 3 days before bid date. Because that gives the county or the owner, the engineer, enough time to respond to them. But yet most of the contractors have at least started looking at it and would have the questions.
Okay.
So last thing, I know last November, December on Eisenhower Road, it was decided to do a four-way stop sign. I guess I would ask that you guys would reconsider a four-way stop sign and going to a signal. Going through engineering, I have learned that you can crank all the numbers out you want into a formula, into a computer program. You can use the daily traffic counts, but at some point you got to back up. Does it make common sense? This area is going to be growing. I mean, you're going to improve Eisenhower. There's several subdivisions that are planned that are going to feed traffic off of Eisenhower. There's a commercial site at 20th and Eisenhower that's being proposed. There's going to be a lot happening over the next 10 years. So I guess don't cut a $10 million project short by not doing the signals now. We need to go ahead and do them. I drive through that intersection 3 to 4 times a day. And I know the numbers may not say you need it, but it's coming.
Yeah, and I believe the board, I wasn't on the board then, I believe John Forsland came up with a compromise about going ahead and plumbing the conduits and electrical wiring for a signal light. I mean, came a long ways from a roundabout.
And that's what I'd like to ask you, why you didn't mention the roundabout. I've gone to different cities here in the last month or so, and I see roundabouts in every city. There's roundabouts across the river here. They flow traffic so easily, and there's no stopping. There's no stop light that stops traffic. It just flows so much easier. I think all the studies that's been run that a roundabout is the way of the future. But yet when we thought we were doing a good thing by bringing up a roundabout, we got all this kickback, and but nobody could say why. They just said they didn't like them. Well, you know, there's studies been done. There's other communities have roundabouts.
That's a very valid question. I personally believe roundabouts are a good idea when you have single lane traffic coming together, and you end up with one lane for a roundabout. When you have multiple lanes coming together, you end up with a multiple lane roundabout, and you end up with one lane of traffic because people don't trust people are going to stay in the right lanes in that roundabout.
I've been on multiple lane roundabouts. Did you look at the description and the roundabout that was proposed for 20th
I
Street?
did.
And the traffic coming from the east could exit right onto 20th Street without even slowing, they just slow down and just exit right onto 20th Street.
But you're still restricting your traffic flow to one lane through. Because if you're going all the way, you're going to continue west.
Well,
You only
yeah,
have
the
one lane.
roundabout will continue, but the exit will be just like an exit ramp.
Right, but you're going to restrict your traffic flow to one lane. You've got a 2-lane
Roundabout.
And let's just say that you've got 6 cars and that they all want to continue west. They all have to get into that left lane to go around the roundabout. So you've got a choke point that you've restricted the traffic down to one lane instead of allowing all those cars to go through. I guess think about if you were to do that at Shrine Park and Eisenhower. That you were going to take and say, okay, the right lanes always have to turn right. You're going to have a choke point there in your left lane for all the through traffic.
Well, you surely don't think that what we have now is very good.
No, but we're improving it.
Right.
So if we're going to improve it, let's do it right, and let's make it to where the traffic, we don't have choke points to where you have to merge traffic down and then traffic widens back out.
But it's the same way with the stoplight. You stop traffic, and then it backs up, then you proceed with traffic.
That's true. But you can time your stoplights to where you get efficiency through them. They've done several roundabouts down in Overland Park. I'm sure you've driven through them. They've got some 2 and 3 lane roundabouts. We put roundabouts in and we've taken roundabouts out because they haven't worked as well as what people thought they were.
What is the cost factor between a roundabout and stoplights?
Stoplight, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but I would think they'd be about a push by the time you bought additional right-of-way and lighting and.
I think a year ago when we looked into this, that the roundabout was going to be a little less money, and
My guess is if they're both going to be in the $200,000 range, $250,000, somewhere in there. Maybe one's $50,000 cheaper or more,
Yeah.
but
I would think the traffic signal, the size of the signal would be more than 200,000.
it may be. I don't know. I have seen some of the issues with the roundabouts, and like I said, I think in some instances, I think they work very well. But I think on 4-lane, 6-lane roads, I don't think they work as well as they do on a 1 lane in each direction or a 2-lane. I think they work a lot better there. Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir.
If I'm right, tell me I'm wrong, the current plans and specs already require the necessary cabling and everything for
Yes, right.
signalization.
That's correct.
So all we would need to do is the cost of the signalization, and I think we should look at that and consider that.
Well, when the project's completed, I'm sure we will, and the city will be working with the county on this too. There's a meeting tonight with the property owners on the project. So we're past roundabout discussions, so.
Yeah.
I guess I would encourage the signals sooner rather than later.
Right, and as the project progresses, I'm sure it'll be there.
And maybe it's something you could bid as an alternate too on the project, that to see how the money comes in, and prices come in more favorable, you can go ahead and do it now.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you,
Thank
Greg.
you.
Anyone else from the public wishing to speak at this time?
Louis Klemp, 1816 Pine Ridge Drive, Leavenworth, Kansas. Since I'm more mature or older than Greg,
little
I'm
bit.
able to express myself in a different way.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever saw the email about common sense. It's a beautiful email, and it's talked about how common sense died. And so we have to revitalize common sense. But I can see where he's coming from on the being able to bid on projects. Because we know later somebody comes in with a project change and they've already been doing the road. So, but I've got about 5 things here and I'm going to talk fast. Does anybody know what time that meeting is tonight? Since in a sense I'm involved, I know I'm not within the radius, but my business is involved. Does anybody know what time the meeting is?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock,
Isn't that
1900.
right, Mark?
That's correct.
At the Church of the Open Door on 20th Street.
Very good, thank you. You know, you've given DECA at Leavenworth High, DECA at Lansing, money of, I think the amount is $2,500 each. All the rest of the schools, and I keep mentioning this constantly, well, we're doing this for Leavenworth, we're doing this for Lansing, we're doing this for Baser. How about Easton? There are other communities and other things going on in life in this county. Pleasant Ridge has, I think it's called FBLA, that's Foxtrot Bravo Lima Alpha. It's a program, basically the same thing. I'm sure.
I thought it was Future Business Leaders of America.
Thank you very much. Baser probably has something.
Yeah.
Tonganoxie probably has something. So, you know, anytime you're doing something for one, we ought to just automatically do it for the other, if we're going to get into that part of what is non-government. Same on the museums. One comes in, the other one comes in. We ought to do the same thing, either that or get out of the business. Let's talk about the TV. Why aren't we approaching, has anybody approached to see what Channel 2 through, I think that's Lansing, I don't know what their channel is, but Leavenworth has Channel 3. Is there some way you could get the meeting? Because not everybody has the ability, because they don't have a computer. They may have a TV. Just curious.
Well, I think the intent of that was for the rural residents who don't have cable TV or anything like that.
But the cable TV doesn't hurt anything. If Leavenworth's got it and they don't have a full project going over there, you know, they put the school on, they put their
Right.
planning board. Who knows what it, at least it needs to be investigated for Lansing and Leavenworth. I don't know about Baser.
I agree, but like I said, we're just now getting started
Yeah.
into doing it, Mr. Clem.
Yeah,
So
and it's been very good.
I'm sure this will grow.
I've had a lot of people compliment of how nice it is to be able to watch the meeting on their computer. Larry's done a good job. He's gotten it to where you can punch on the county portion of it, pull the meeting up, and you don't have to go through YouTube. Occasionally we have people comment out in the audience. That's not good.
Right.
They need to come to the podium. That's one of the complaints people have had. Again, the 11 hour and who's going to dictate what's going to be on. Council said, well, we're going to come up and we're going to mention it to you and you guys have to make the decision. Well, there could be a day when 2 of you aren't gotten a hold of. It takes 2 of you to make a decision. At least that's the old rule. It takes 2 county commissioners out of 3. And so it's going to be delayed for how long till somebody can make a decision. The delay needs to be removed, and maybe that's a future project that will be done. Ambulances, and I know they're on, but they're not on for this subject. I catch ambulances speeding. I also caught 2 ambulances the other day in a row, going around the corner. I don't know where they were going, but it looked like a shuttle going on. And I think it's cheaper to do the shuttle with a smaller vehicle than it is with an ambulance. Don't know the situation. Speeding is very important. The email, holding of the emails. I don't understand that. I've read the documentation between the lawyer, the treasurer. You now have a man in charge of the county through your, what do you want to call it? You ordered him now to be the county administrator and not the finance officer. I'm sure he will be reviewing that real rapidly to get the information to the treasurer that needs to be gotten there, and not say, yeah, well, it's the investigation. If there is an investigation going on, it's a, what do they call that? An open, I don't know, there's some kind of legal dissertation here, and I won't say what I think that legal dissertation is again, but it's an open investigation, or a complaint, an open complaint. When do we get to the closed complaint? Let's get on down the road. You know, we're worse than Washington. I've mentioned that I don't know how many times. Let's get it done. He can now concentrate on it. We spent $47,000 on the last lawsuit. How much are we going to spend on this lawsuit? And that's probably a minimum that we've spent. So let's get this email thing taken care of. Clyde, you don't know how many people have complimented you. And I know you don't like it. It's real bad, but I probably get more phone calls than you guys do. Doing the motions. Did you get in a second? Sometimes you, all three agree, sometimes you don't agree. But there have been some things done in the last 4 years, in my opinion, that should never have been done. They were done, and somehow they need to be removed so we can get the county going on in the professional manner that it needs to be run. And you now have an administrator. You need to get a few other things straightened away, but that email thing needs to go. And the letter, again, I'll bring it up. I brought it up last meeting. That was totally uncalled for. I think something needs to be put in the record of the council by a vote of the commission, and it doesn't need to go into executive session. That was totally uncalled for. I'm going to say it was personally rude. I think the counselor should have called Mr. Smith and said, do you mind? And if he said, no, I don't mind, that's fine. But that should have been done. That is a politeness that needs to be displayed to any one of our county commissioners. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak at this time?
Gary Starcher. I'd like to address the county road project, the new one that y'all haven't planned. I've got all the signatures on our road, 182nd Street between Evans and State. The traffic there, we've got traffic for the construction at I-70, and then there's 17 residents on that road, plus we're getting the traffic from south of Evans, and the dust is horrible.
I spoke with the county engineer this morning. He said he's going to go out next week in the morning and in the afternoon to check on the traffic on that.
Appreciate that. If we could do something, I know, you know, as far as chip and seal, it might not happen as soon as everybody would like, but if they can do something
it
with
would
the
already
dust,
been done if that was the case.
if they can do something with the dust,
Okay.
that would be a big one. And then we'll fight for the other part later.
Okay.
Thank
All right. Just the commissioners up to speed on that. They've got a turnpike bridge out on the south end of 182nd. There's been some construction vehicles run down that road. But anyway, anyone else from the public wish to speak at this time? We'll move on. As commissioners had a chance to read the minutes.
I have, Mr. Chairman. I found no fault with them, and I move approval.
Second.
Voting?
Aye.
Aye. We don't have any OCDs. We have any administrative business this time, Mark? I got just a question. I guess it's for the fellow commissioners here. Last year, someone came in with a letter from a previous planning and zoning director said your track is buildable. Remember that? And then,
Yes.
did we ever come up with a policy or a resolution on if you have a letter from previous planning directors saying?
I thought we took care of that
You
already.
approved it, but there's
Right.
some other ones out there.
Well, it was approved by a former Public Works Director.
Or planning and zoning
years,
director.
or planning and zoning
Yeah.
director, years
Yeah.
back. And now that we've changed our policies down there, I thought we took care of this in one of our meetings and said that these letters are no longer valid because they don't meet the criteria of the planning and zoning. I guess what we need to do is go back through the minutes and see if that was actually done.
Yeah, I just remember, I didn't know what you guys came up with. I know you approved it, but I mean, there's a lot of letters
Right.
out there on tracks that the planning director gave that says that this is a buildable lot, and then these people have sold these lots, and now these people can't get a building permit.
Well, I was contacted by a realtor not too long ago, and he also had one of these letters. And I think Jeff Joseph could shine a lot of light on this subject.
Well, we just need to limit the exposure to the county when you've got an official document from the county planning and zoning director that says this is a buildable lot and somebody buys it. I mean, we're
I think-
kind of on the hook there too.
I think that the reason for it is that the easement along the front of this property wasn't enough room.
Right.
And so they couldn't get the utilities in there. You know, I don't,
But that question comes up, Commissioner. Here you've got a formal letter signed by a department head who oversees that area.
I would not want to go to court against that.
I would, I'm not different, I'm not
I know what
arguing
you-
against this, but I would like for you to ask that question to Jeff Joseph and see if he has signed any of those letters, because I'll
I don't
bet you.
think Jeff has.
Well, I don't
No.
think he has, but we've got.
Because, you know,
Oh,
we
and
don't,
I concur with what you're saying. This former director signed too damn many letters.
right, and I don't
No.
think he had authority to sign those letters.
He was a representative of the county and the director of planning and zoning. That's, you know,
Yeah,
I
but
would hate to
Someone that
defend it in
has
court.
that letter, and if it affects their property, do we not have, maybe not a legal, but at least a moral commitment?
I think we got both.
Yeah.
well,
legal
we
and
might
moral.
have a moral commitment. I don't know about legal.
I
I'm
know,
not an
and there's
attorney.
a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Matthews, come forward.
I know one person that's being awfully quiet is Molly down here.
Well, I was going to
John
get
Matthews,
them all here in a minute.
17629.
Come up every once in a while. And
They do.
it'd be better if we dealt with them all in the same way. So,
Sure, it'd be even and fair. but
Right, right. So,
Thank you for your time.
thank you, John.
Did you have a question?
I do have one kind of statement, and this doesn't, I was on a rural water district, and we had what we call benefit unit certificates. And what that was to give say we run down there and got an easement on this person's property, and then the neighbor wanted water. And this benefit unit certificate give him the right to buy a meter at a later date. Well, some of them held on to it for 10, 15 years. We had never planned on that. So what we did on the water district, we got our attorney involved, and we wrote up a new resolution that said and we sent it out to all the new the benefit unit certificate holders, which, you know, all of a sudden they started, if they needed a benefit unit certificate and they knew their neighbor had one, they'd go buy it from him. Well, that was against the bylaws. So what we did, we come up with this new resolution that said you have a year or 2 years to use this benefit district, or you lose it. And it's amazing how many people wanted water then. They were just kind of eking along at the time, and we got that all cleared up in just a matter of a year or two, and never had a lawsuit. You know, people understood. We sent out a very explanatory letter that it stated that. I don't know whether that could be done this way.
It could be a place to start from.
Mr. Joseph will be up here Thursday. Maybe we can talk to him about it then, and
I
maybe
would-
Mark and him can get together and come up with something, and Molly.
I was going to say, I would like Mark and legal counsel to get together so that Jeff's not blindsided.
Right. No, I just wanted to bring it up.
We will discuss it. I think that, just off the top of my head, some of the challenges that you have is not knowing what's on these letters, not knowing what's occurred since the letters were issued. Maybe at the time it wasn't as big a deal, but maybe the property has changed since then. So having a blanket policy that just says these letters will be valid and would maybe not be the best approach, but we'll discuss it. We'll,
And what I've seen, none of the letters read the same.
and that's my concern, without having, and we also, sounds like, don't necessarily know who has these letters.
That's
So
right.
trying to contact them to
Right, I don't
rescind
think-
the letter would be
I'm
difficult as
just
well.
throwing that out as an idea, but
We'll
I
discuss it
understand that
and be
we
better
probably
prepared.
don't know who has these letters.
Correct.
Well, it's not from just one planning director either. It goes back a couple.
So,
It's,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, it'd be really hard to
Well,
say
I know.
what we might have committed to 20 years ago, and things have changed significantly since then, that we could no longer honor that. So to adopt a policy saying we would not necessarily.
Well,
be appropriate.
I agree with John. It needs to have a deadline.
Right.
But
Could we send out a letter now?
we don't know how many's out
Ms.
there.
Molly would know. No, we know how many non-compliant lots we have. They haven't changed a bit because we don't allow them to be platted anymore, so we're not getting new ones.
Okay.
To those individuals, essentially an open letter that states a reminder that the property you own is a non-compliant lot and the results of it. And mention, even if you have a previous letter from anybody in county government, would be considered null and void. You're being officially notified that basically this is the way it is. Send them out registered certified mail, and then you know people are going to have to get them and sign them.
We'll discuss it.
We'll discuss it when
Try to
Mr.
find
Joseph's here. And
Thank you, gentlemen.
And maybe you can offer some input then, John. Thank you. Okay. We don't have any OCBs. Has commissioners looked at the agenda for next week?
I have a motion to approve.
A question, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Mark. At 9:30 on Monday, we're taking up the Patriot Highway MOU. Are we at the point where we could logically discuss an MOU in that regard?
Mr. Bradford has provided us with several renditions of a document that he would like for this board to consider. We have ran it through our legal counsel and our public works staff to try to identify any challenges that might be in there. We do believe at this point he has come up with a document that would not be detrimental to the county. So
Can we have a copy of that prior to the meeting?
yes, it will be in the packet. So and I can give you one today if you like.
Thank you. I mean, it's something that I think we need to study very carefully and in depth.
Sure.
Thank you.
Got a motion? Need a second?
Second.
Voting?
Aye.
Aye.
Just approving
Oh,
the agenda.
okay. I've already
Yeah, that was your motion.
Okay, I thought we were voting on this
No.
Patriot Highway. I was gonna say,
You thought
no,
we-
no,
you-
no.
No,
You
sir.
thought you were voting on my heartburn?
Yeah, right.
No.
No.
No, I'm not gonna vote for that.
Okay. All right.
Not at this point.
All right.
You will.
All right, I guess we're ready for the Hams Material Recovery Facility update.
Thank you.
Commissioners, thanks for allowing us the opportunity. Charlie Sedlock, Director Ham Waste Services, just up the road a piece in Perry and Lawrence. And as you guys know, we have some operations in Fair County. And so thanks for your time. I'm going to make this fairly quick. I wanted to cover a few things, an update of what we've been doing at our recycling facility that's here on the other end of Leavenworth County, a little closer to Lawrence, and also let you know what's going on at our landfill disposal location that would affect you guys as well. There's some pretty pictures in here. I'm not going to belabor each and every one. I did this so you guys could look at some pretty pictures and not look at me. Hopefully this new video system doesn't catch me and only catches you guys, so people don't have to bear that too. But at our facility out on Linwood Road, we've been recycling a lot. And so I'm here to tell you guys that we're over 40 million pounds of recycling and sending stuff back to end markets around the United States and around the world since essentially the beginning of 2015, late 14. That's happening right here in Leavenworth County. It's great stuff. Commissioner Graber, you remember very well RCRA, Resource Conservation and Recovery Act. 40, 50 years ago, we talked about closing burning landfills. We talked about recycling. We talked about open dumps. We are starting to see the apex and the returns on that with this facility here in Leavenworth County. It's a state-of-the-art facility, very safe. We're up for national awards on safety and operation. I just presented in New Orleans last week on the facility. Very proud of the facility. Welcome you guys anytime you want to see it. Schedule a tour with me, call me, we'll work through the county. We are also serving you guys with some sorting and recycling. We sort and recycle stuff from all over Northeast Kansas. That's a quick update. You'll see lots of photos, you'll see lots of outreach. We host high school kids. We're trying to teach the next level of operators, engineers, workers, all that's going on. At our landfill location, just down the road a little further, it's in Jefferson County, but it's only about 5 miles further. We served you as a county for about 20 years at your transfer station in terms of transport and dispose. That facility continues to evolve to become more and more safe. We're actually capping parts of the older landfill with savanna conditions, trees, tall grasses, trails, shelters. It's actually turning into a long-term park project for the future. So we'll be adding about 600 acres someday. Landfill has almost 100 years capacity, so that this becomes a community asset. Very safe, very well operated. Reach out to your old buddies at KDHE, ask them what they think about us. It's the safest landfill in the state for disposal. It reduces your liability. Later this year, I believe that your contract ends for disposal and transport. We did it for 20 years. We would be very interested in offering our services to decrease your liability as a county with your waste, decrease your environmental liability, improve your service, and decrease your costs. And so that's all I have today. We highly would recommend that you notify potential folks like Ham, Deffenbaugh, Republic Waste that you intend to do that. I think your contract ends at the end of the year. I think that's the intention. It's always good to provide notice. It could probably be as easy as an email or a couple line letter. That way everybody knows what's going to happen. With that, I'll be happy to entertain any questions. And here again, I offer up to you guys
and extend an offer of a tour if you guys ever want to come and see what's happening. Very high level recycling and very cool stuff. That's all.
I do like the idea when you said reduced liability, because I think Clyde and I didn't we have a liability out at the transfer station at one time several years ago? And I think the county paid dearly for that, and I think this would be a good idea.
Yeah, when it comes to safety of equipment, of people, of the environment, it's not worth it to us, it's not worth it to our shareholders, it's not worth it to our team members and associates to undercut any of those. And you are liable for your waste from here to eternity, and so whoever you operate with, whoever co-disposes of things with you at that location, it's kind of like getting married to somebody you didn't quite know, and so you really want to be careful on those things. We welcome the opportunity to work with you. We welcome the opportunity to let the market work and bring the best to your county. That's it.
Thank you.
Right.
Thanks.
Thank you. And Tammy, I guess, how many months ahead do we throw out the bid? Put it on the street?
Molly has actually sent our notice of intent.
Okay.
out.
Oh, okay.
And it ends, well, the new one would start January 1, so we're working with her.
So you're working with
on
Molly on
RFP.
any potential changes in the contract that we want? Okay, well, sounds good then.
How are we with the trailers being delivered? Are we having any problems with that we did have?
Yes.
Oh. You answered my question.
The last 2 weeks.
I hadn't heard from you, so I was kind of, that's been an ongoing fight.
It was good there for a while. but
Right.
The last 2 weeks, I've had to email again daily, but
Okay.
You're having to email them daily?
Didn't we have this fight once before, Clyde?
Yeah.
Well, I
Maybe
know
the next
for a while-
contract, we can tighten that up a little
But-
bit on the spec.
But we were told that that had stopped
Right.
and that they were,
That's why I was so, I was surprised when you said
Yeah.
you're back to emailing them daily. That's just like it was in the old days.
yeah, it's been about the last 2 weeks.
and we're not getting the necessary trucks then in. And the contract's expiring the end of this year. It's not smart on their part.
Especially since she sent the letter out, I thought that might help.
Didn't do any good, I take it.
If I could just offer up one comment, nothing about the competition, but we are a transport and waste companies. We're very interested in making sure material is moved quickly and rapidly and according to the law and regulations by KDHE. So in our case, you'll see 80 trailers in inventory moving around northeast Kansas amongst 15 facilities at any one time, and about 20 power units. So that's what we do, and that's what we did for you guys for 20 years. And so you got to be in the transport business. You can't have a third-party transport company just come in and try it, and we won't do that. We would do everything in-house, one phone call. If I get an email once every 5 years, I'm upset.
5 years.
One email in
I'd
5
take that.
years is too much. I've got 20-year clients. In the 20 years with Leavenworth County that we did it, I think I heard from Ed maybe once. So it's not, none of this is rocket science.
Yep. Thank you. Any other questions, commissioners?
No.
Not now.
And we'll get
But I
Jamie
think
on.
it's something we're gonna have to address.
Sorry running behind, Jamie. I know you're a busy man. Thank you.
We'll see you.
Commissioners, I submitted an RVA. I talked about this in my last quarterly report. Basically, Mr. Morey's out looking at the ambulance that we're going to bring into the fleet here within the next couple of weeks. which is that 8 ambulance. With that, there was a piece of equipment, the ventilator, emergency ventilator, Parapack, Venti Pack ventilator specific. We already have 7 of those on all the other ambulances. This is just the purchase of the 8th ventilator. Our current contract with the Marker Medical Supply carries that ventilator, so it is already a, if you will, bidded item, but it's just the cost oversees that $5,000 mark, so in front of the board.
And I notice here in the briefing report, it says it is a budgeted item and you have the funds available.
We have the funding within the budget to make this purchase.
I make a motion that we allow Jamie to go out for Smith Medical to purchase a ventilator at $5,565.
Second.
Voting.
Aye.
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 Commissioners, I just have one other item, if you entertain that today. As I spoke, I have a registered dietitian that's retiring from our department. One of the things that I always do at their little retirement party is present a letter from the commission, signed by the commission. I already have it drafted up, just thanking her for her service. I also get a letter from the governor signed, thanking her for her community service. I just asked the board to sign the letter today, congratulating her on her retirement, her 11 years in Leavenworth County.
No problem.
Bring it forward.
I don't think we need a motion for that.
Be glad to sign that.
I don't like it.
Wish it was 30 years instead of just 11.
I wish to, but she came from a hospital to us through the WIC department, so great employee. Hate to see her retire, but I'm happy for her. She's truly retiring.
Okay.
Her and her husband.
Appreciate you doing that for your employees, Jamie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
We have any other business for us? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Voting.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Miller, your city is a wealthier city.
Not until after October 1st.